subscribe, like, you can comment along with the show. And of course, you can always feel free to call in right here at 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. A lot to get into today. Most importantly and biggest, at least in my perception, is the Texans did something I did not see them doing. I did not see D'Amico firing his friend Bobby Slowick, who he brought over from San Francisco. The offensive line seemed like an easy scapegoat of a problem and how to address and hopefully buy Bobby Slowick one more year to potentially turn things around with CJ Stroud and that offense going into one more time. I did not expect him to be able to move on from Bobby like that. That literally shook me a little bit this afternoon because it was very unexpected. And now it comes down to who are they looking for? What's going on with the search and how do you best, build for the future with CJ Stroud? Well, the guys on the Blitz were talking about that a little bit earlier this afternoon on the Blitz.
D'Amico Ryans did what most people didn't expect him to do. He fired Bobby Slowick.
Wow.
Texans fans rejoice. Now, last year, oh, man, I hope Bobby Slowick doesn't get a head coaching job. Boy, we need another year of Bobby with CJ. Nope.
Well, can we just review the season? I'm just curious. Did the Texans not go to the second round of the playoffs?
They did.
They did, right?
They did.
Uh-huh. And they outplayed Kansas City, if I recall. I mean, to a degree.
To a degree.
Right?
I mean, they gave up 8 sacks. So
okay. All right.
Offensive line coaches got fired.
Well, and rightly so. But I'm curious about Slowick because I don't know if that's a fireable offense getting to the second round of the playoffs. I mean, the Cowboys would have a parade.
Not necessarily. And not everything gets compared back to the Cowboys.
Well,
and
it does on this show.
Only with you. I mean, in all sincerity, the offense wasn't as good this year. CJ Stroud regressed this year. Love CJ Stroud, but he did regress this year. They even gave him better weapons. And while Diggs was there, while he had healthy receivers, that offense still was not firing on all cylinders like we saw a year ago, his rookie year. Same could be said about Dak and the Cowboys, since you want to go compare it there. Second year with that offense, you expected it to be better, and it wasn't. It wasn't this year for Bobby Slowick. The offensive line coaches getting fired, I think anybody that would have expected that, and maybe Bobby Slowick is able to keep his job. The fact that they had 2 offensive line coaches that both got fired, but then they come back and they do part ways with Bobby Slowick tells me there must have been a lot more things going on there. And looking at some of the comments, like real quick, J-Rod says Slowick became too predictable and didn't adjust. There are times as an offensive coordinator that they do become predictable because of the issues on the offensive line. And Dallas had this problem too. Look around the league. Teams with, there are certain plays that you can't run because either your line can't block, the matchups aren't there, or your receiver's getting out. So you only have so much to go with. And I wondered how much of that was going on in Houston with Bobby Slowick. And was that part of the regression is Bobby wants to do this, but he knows the team won't be able to get that done. And that might save his job. Clearly, that wasn't the issue, or D'Amico Ryans wouldn't have parted ways with his offensive coordinator.
No, look, I think there had to be a philosophical difference between D'Amico and Bobby Slowick when it comes to that. I've said this since I've been on the show. Rookie quarterbacks that come out and set the world on fire, guess what? Those defensive coordinators around the league, they're pretty damn smart, and they figure you out, and the good ones will keep going and get better. And I have every confidence CJ will as well. Jaden Daniels next year is going to have to face the same exact thing. Defensive coordinators are going to watch film all offseason long, and they're going to figure out ways to stop Jaden Daniels. It's the way that it goes. The one thing that I think where Slowick got it fired was the fact that he kept trying to use Dalton Schultz as a blocker.
Oh, that's it?
Yes. I mean, it's obvious the dude can't block me, for goodness sake, much less an NFL player. And I think that was an issue.
You're not wrong, but you're not right.
I'm absolutely right. Dalton Schultz sucks.
No, he's not a blocker. He's not a blocker. And I know you're the president of the Dalton Schultz fan club, but in reality, who else was he going to turn to block?
They don't have another tight end in Houston?
Not a better one.
Well, apparently not.
And again, is that, I mean, we talk about the offense that he wants to run. It requires a blocking tight end. Nick Caserio is the one that brought in Dalton Schultz and gave him all that money. If you don't have the right pieces and parts, what are you supposed to do? I mean, there are a lot of things going on in Houston. And while they did get to the second round of the playoffs, they weren't crisp. It wasn't, it didn't look like they built on last year. I mean, they got there, but it was a dental appointment each and every week for the most part, watching that team play football. They overcame a lot. For D'Amico Ryans, though, to use Bobby Slowick, lack of better words, the scapegoat, even though they did get to the second round of the playoffs. But I don't care who you are. You're not going to win when your quarterback is getting sacked 20% of the time he drops back. You know, in some cases, like Caleb Williams, you could say, well, that dude just hangs on to the ball too long. You can't really say that about CJ Stroud. I mean, that guy didn't have time to hang on to the ball too long.
Nobody wanted to play Houston in the playoffs. The way they looked against the Chargers, that's the best they looked all year.
Yep.
I thought they made some mistakes against Kansas City, but in my opinion, they outplayed them in a lot of ways. They did. You got to figure out that Travis Kelce is still there and maybe, I don't know, cover him occasionally. But other than that, I thought they looked pretty good in the playoffs. Slowick's gone, and I know Texan fans are happy, and it's a what have you done for me lately world in the NFL. You're a GOAT one day, or a hero one day, and a GOAT the next, and that's what's happened to Bobby Slowick. He'll catch on with somebody. I guarantee you, somebody that needs an offensive coordinator will hire Bobby Slowick.
Well, and he's right. Somebody will give Bobby Slowick another chance. Maybe it's Mike McDaniel, who was with him in San Francisco. Maybe it's Shanahan bringing him back to San Francisco to be the passing game coordinator again. I'm not sure, but Bobby Slowick was definitely too hot of a candidate last year and on a seemingly meteoric rise to have fallen this far out of graces. And part of me wonders exactly what they're going to do. We'll discuss next when Cody Stutes of HOU Football, HoustonFootball.com joins us. But your phone calls first, 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. Martin, welcome into Extra Innings with Pledge, man. What's going on?
Pleasure. How you doing, sir?
Man, I am always good. How are you, my friend?
I'm going to tell you, don't take this wrong, but there's two guys on the blitz and should be gone, and you should replace them with somebody else who knows about football.
They know football, Martin. Come on, stop giving them a hard time.
They're just earning a wage, for real. It's like, when they were talking about the Cowboys and Danny White, they don't realize that after the catch, Drew Pearson caught a ball, and it wasn't for the fact that got grabbed from the jersey, Dallas would have won. Look it up.
Yeah, there's a lot of ifs and ands in Cowboys histories.
I'm not a Dallas guy, a fan of Tony Cowboys fan. I'm a Cowboys fan, you know?
No, I get it. There's a lot of misperceived history when it comes to the Cowboys because, like they were going to the Super Bowl. They were playing Green Bay in the divisional round. They were playing a Seattle team that was incredibly hard to beat.
Danny White went to 3 divisional championships.
He did. He did. He was right there on the precipice, but he didn't win Super Bowls, and he wasn't Roger Staubach. And in some cases,
his team was old. His team was old, though.
Sure, but I mean, Martin, you gotta understand too. Like, yeah, the team was old. Yeah, but a standard had been set for that team for those expectations from both the fan and ownership, and it's those same expectations that led to Mike McCarthy being fired this season. That's a guy that took you to 3 straight playoffs and 2 divisional round games and won 12 games in a row, 12 games 3 years in a row. Like that expectation raises the bar, a barometer of success across the board.
He has the talent, though. I could do that, you know?
It's like Bobby Slowick. Expectation from last year led to his firing this year, despite the same result.
Come on, Fletcher. You know what? If the first one get it going, they're going to get moved to Las Vegas. You know that's coming.
What, the Spurs?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, man. Spurs ain't going nowhere anytime soon. They're trying to get a brand new stadium built.
Trying to. It's San Antonio. San Antonio, all it is about is cops shooting, people getting drunk. That's all San Antonio is.
It is not because
yes, it is, Fletcher. Come on. Come on. San Antonio is like
I got you, Martin. Look, I'm not going to talk San Antonio politics. This ain't the place for it. There's an Earth station down the hall, 550 KTSA, if you want to get into that. But, man, San Antonio is a great place. I enjoy it. I live here. I love it, and it is home. Houston is where I'm from. That's what I bleed. And I just want to know where they're going with their offensive coordinator opening now that Bobby Slowick has actually been fired. And to do that, we're going to go straight to the source. Cody Stutes of SNL and also of HoustonFootball.com. He will join us next right here on Extra Innings with Pleasure on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
94.1.
Shopping with your parents can be embarrassing.
Why would they sell jeans with holes in them? I'm going to speak to the manager.
Mom!
That hoodie is giving. You should get it. YOLO.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from
We can be twinsies.
to
How was shopping? Saw you stayed on budget.
Thanks, Mom.
freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. member FDIC.
Joe Montana here. In my football days, I knew the importance of a strong defense. Now I'm sharing how you can help defend your health against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease. Are you 50 or older like me? The CDC now recommends vaccination against pneumococcal disease. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at increased risk and over 6 times greater risk of hospitalization with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50. Schedule your appointment today at vaxassist.com.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Rox Discount Vitamins and More wants to thank God and San Antonio for making Rox the king of supplements. Are you losing weight, building muscle, or just getting healthy? Rox has you covered. Weight loss and muscle building packages starting at just $75. Plus, get a free in-body scan in 15 seconds with the In-Body 270 analysis. Start tracking your results today. The pros at Rox know their products, how they work, and what's best for your health and fitness goals. Call 210-342-7625 or visit roxdiscountvitamins.com.
On point. Celebrate Pork Rind Appreciation Day. Get in on the action at porkrinds.com.
It's Extra Innings with Pledger on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star.
Welcome back into Extra Innings with Pledger right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com, and on YouTube at SA Sports Star. Like, subscribe. You can comment along with the show. Josh Jimenez already pumped about our next guest as I'm bringing him on right now. That would be Cody Stutes. You can catch him on his YouTube channel. You can catch him at Cody_Stutes for all the latest information regarding the Texans officially parting ways, not only with their offensive line coaches and Chris Strasser and Cole Popovich, but also the surprise of actually moving on from Bobby Slowick, which has opened up an entire new conversation heading into the offseason. If you want to be informed, subscribe to his YouTube channel, follow SNL on YouTube, and of course, go to Houston Football, www.houfootball.com for all the latest, including a great article right now about who the candidates could be as they look for a new offensive coordinator. Cody Stutes, welcome back into San Antonio, man. It's great to have you back on again. How you doing, my friend?
I like that we came in with Fallout D'Amico singing Slowick, We're Going Down. Okay, that was
exactly.
Great. That was great.
So the biggest surprise to me of the day has been the fact that Bobby Slowick was actually let go by D'Amico Ryans, because it seemed like they were very close. They came up together in the San Francisco coaching ranks as quality control coaches and coordinators, and then he brought him handpicked to Houston with him. I thought the offensive line, being as bad as it was this year, gave him the opportunity to be able to pin it on Strasser and Popovich, get a new offensive line coaching unit in, and buy Bobby Slowick one more year to try and turn it around with CJ Stroud, especially after the success he had last year. What went into them officially moving on from Bobby Slowick today?
Well, the stuff that Bobby Slowick was in control of wasn't any good. Bobby Slowick can't make Shaq Mason a better right guard. Bobby Slowick can't keep Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell from getting hurt. But what Bobby Slowick was in control of, he wasn't any good at it. He was predictable. He was unimaginative. And overall, it was a disappointing season. I mean, week after week, if I can sit there in the press box and know when they make this unit change, they're going to run this play, every defensive coordinator they go against certainly knows that's coming. The blocking scheme was a disaster. He's in charge of that. And I felt like when they added Stephon Diggs, they switched a little bit more towards, let's be a pass-first team. Let's get 3 wide receivers out there. And you saw it in Kansas City. When they get some big guys together and they get into rhythm, they can move the ball a little bit better. I don't know why it took, 16, 17 weeks to kind of get this thing going. There were too many lulls in the season, and too much of what Bobby Slowick directly is in control of wasn't good enough, and that's why he's not the offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans anymore.
So was it simply his unwillingness to evolve when it came to his protection scheme? Because I remember watching that Kansas City playoff game last weekend, and I believe all 3 of George Karlaftis' sacks came with Dalton Schultz slide protecting to pick him up one-on-one, which has to be the most asinine protection that I could envision when you're trying to move the ball, especially on a critical 4th and 10.
Well, unwillingness to change, or perhaps just the inability to fix it, I think is probably part of it. I mean, Bobby Slowick is supposed to take this Kyle Shanahan offense when he got here, put his spin on it, evolve, change, maximize what CJ Stroud does well. And he did some of that last year. And then he tried to do the exact same thing. And with any relationship in life, business, personal, romantic, anything, you change, you evolve, and sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. But if you stay the same, typically it doesn't work. And that's what happened with Bobby Slowick. It felt like he just stayed the same. And you can say maybe an unwillingness to change things in the season. I think there's a good case study to say that there was an inability to change things, to adjust to a different style of offense, to evolve. Like he maybe, if this is Pokemon, he's the final evolution of himself. Maybe there's no more evolutions for Bobby Slowick. This is what Bobby Slowick is going to be. It's unfortunate that led to him losing his job, but that's what the Texans had to do. They were in a dire situation if they kept him and he failed next year. They're in a real bad spot. So it was risky to move on from him. It's riskier to keep him.
Cody Stutes of Houston Football, catch his work there, HOUfootball.com. He's got a great article up right now talking about the directions they could go at offensive coordinator. And I know the first name that has come up is a promotion from within with Gerard Johnson, the quarterback's coach, who has been a hot name. And I believe it was last year he interviewed for, I want to say, the Saints offensive coordinator position.
Yeah, look, Gerard Johnson was a hot name last year. I think he had 6 rumored interviews. I'm not sure exactly how many he went on. You mentioned the Saints. He also talked with Pittsburgh and the Steelers before ultimately he stuck around as the quarterback coach. And it was going to be perfect if it worked out. Slowick is good. He gets a head coach job. Gerard Johnson moves up. Now, a year later, after everything went awry, Gerard Johnson, when he talks to the Texans about this offensive coordinator job, as much as he's talking about trying to be the offensive coordinator, he's also trying to talk about sticking around as the QB coach with the new guy that they bring in to be the offensive coordinator. I don't believe you can promote anyone from within to run this offense. So they're all guilty by association. And look, if we're going to be critical of the offensive line coaches and the job that they did, CJ Stroud, on some of his basics, some of his fundamentals, he took a step back. How many times did we see him throw an interception off of that front foot because he didn't get set right? We talked about footwork a bunch over the course of the season, and it wasn't good enough. And Gerard Johnson's in charge of making sure that that is good enough. So he's guilty. I'm not going to say as guilty as Bobby Slowick, but he's guilty as well for some of the shortcomings of this offense. So it'd be a tough sell to just keep him. I understand there's some potential there, and maybe there's an opportunity for Gerard somewhere else or as the quarterback coach again. But offensive coordinator, that'd be rough.
So what are some names we should be keeping an eye on when it comes to their upcoming offensive coordinator search?
Number one name for me, and the name you should keep in mind, is a name that's interviewed for the Texans offensive coordinator job before. They interviewed Bobby Slowick and Cliff Kingsbury 2 years ago. They also interviewed a gentleman by the name of Nick Caley. Caley, at the time, was just the tight ends coach in New England. Since then, 2 years with Sean McVay in L.A. on the Rams staff, where he's been a pass game coordinator and tight ends coach. And he had a chance to be the Patriots OC last year. He declined that. And in declining that, declined $3 million to be the Patriots OC coach, to stick around with McVay for one more year and try to get into this cycle. It's a good job by him. There's some good jobs available. That's my top choice. That's somebody that I believe they're very much going to talk to. The next name that you need to talk to and see if he's interested, I don't believe that he is. It's Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly, the offensive coordinator for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Chip Kelly coached DeMeco Ryans in Philadelphia, and his nickname for DeMeco Ryans was Mufasa, a.k.a. the Lion King, because DeMeco kind of had domain over everything with the defense. They had a good relationship. DeMeco credits a lot of what he talked about from evolution and motivation to Chip Kelly. I'd make Chip Kelly say no if I can't get Nick Caley. Chip Kelly already makes $2 million at Ohio State. It's a great job, so it might be a tough sell. Then you've got Clint Kubiak, who most recently was with the New Orleans Saints. Clint Kubiak, certainly an interesting name. He was okay with the Saints. They had some player limitations that kept him from executing things, but he's called offense before the Saints job, where he called offense in Minnesota a few years ago. It was pretty good. Obviously, he knows the offense and the offensive style from coaching with his dad, and he spent time with Kyle Shanahan last season. So Clint Kubiak is a name. And then one more name that I'll throw in there that's kind of, hey, that sounds familiar. Dave Ragone. Dave Ragone's the quarterback's coach in the Rams. And if it sounds familiar to Texans fans, he was a Texans draft pick back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Ragone's coached under Sean McVay twice. He's coached under Arthur Smith. He's coached under Matt Nagy. He's been in a lot of different offenses. He's never called plays before, so that's the thing that's against him. Never called plays before, but Ragone is very close to Sean McVay, and McVay goes out of his way to talk about how impressive Ragone is. If Sean McVay's singing your praises, I'm pretty excited. And, I'd keep an eye out for Josh McCown, the Minnesota Vikings quarterback coach, and two-time almost Texans head coach.
Is Jack Easterby back in the building? What's going on?
Look, McCown is 1,000 times more qualified to be an offensive coordinator today than he was to be a head coach 2 years ago, or 3 years ago. So I'm more interested in talking to him, just kind of picking his brain and seeing it. I don't love the offensive coordinator idea for McCown, but you can do a whole lot worse. And, man, he's been mentoring quarterbacks for a long time, because it's not like he was taking over a bunch of starting jobs when he was a backup QB. I mean, they had him in there mentoring a bunch of different QBs. When he was a QB in Philadelphia, they let him call plays during a game one time. So there's a little bit more experience than your traditional experience to Josh McCown. Not in love with the idea, but he's in my top 4 or 5 or so.
As Cody Stutes, you could catch him in his work at Houston Football. That's www.houfootball.com. Follow him on Twitter at Cody_Stutes. And of course, check out his work on YouTube. Go to Cody Stutes' page. Subscribe to his stuff. He does content daily, whether it is him or the SNL podcast with him and Landry Locker. Just great stuff, all on top of everything going around football right now in the Houston area. And one of the names you mentioned, especially your favorite candidate, Nick Caley, it struck a chord with me because there are multiple ties that you can make here. You can make the ties with McVay because of the offense that is run both in Houston, McVay, Shanahan, Kubiak, like it's all the same tree, but also his time, and you mentioned it being in New England, he would be familiar with Nick Caserio. So there's a little bit of familiarity on a bunch of different levels there, it seems.
Well, and D'Amico Ryans talked to him for this job 2 years ago. So, hey, when you come in for the interview, show me what you learned. Show me how impressive you are 2 years later after sitting under the McVay learning tree. And, by the way, you need a new offensive line coach. One of the best offensive line coaches in all of the land is a gentleman by the name of Aaron Kromer. He's the Bills offensive line coach. He was the Rams offensive line coach when they won the Super Bowl. His son, Zach Kromer, is the assistant offensive line coach for the Rams. So if you hired Nick Caley to be your offensive coordinator, you might have the son of a legendary offensive line coach who's also been a coach for about a decade himself be your offensive line coach. It's kind of a nice little package deal. They know the offense together. That'd be a nice little way to get this offensive line up to speed on this offense, is having a coach that had coached it before.
100%. I am down on both of those hires because continuity would be a big thing. And it is something it felt like at times this offense missed. One thing it also missed was a bunch of weapons for a lot of the year. So as we get ready for the draft and free agency, what are some changes, whether it's to the offensive line, the weapons? You look at Stephon Diggs, like how are they going to retool this offense when you look at Diggs coming off of an ACL injury, when you look at Tank Dell likely not playing next year due to his injuries? This is a team that is, at the end of the year had Nico Collins, Robert Woods, and it was relying on Xavier Hutchinson and John Mechie to get you where you needed to go. It just, at times it reminded me of last season when, once again, Robert Woods was your number 2 receiver for a lot of that year.
Yeah, look, I don't know if you can bring Stephon Diggs back. I don't know if you can count on him. He's going to be 32 years old next season. He's coming off of his first major knee injury. You have no idea how he's going to react to it coming back from a bounce back standpoint. And the history of guys that are 31 and older having big seasons in the NFL. There's only been 15 of them in the past 10 years. And it's legendary names like Larry Fitzgerald, Steve Smith, and Devontae Adams that pull it off. It's not quite guys like Stephon Diggs. So I'd move on from him. I'd try to draft a young, dynamic wide receiver, hopefully in the first round. Luther Burden from Missouri, Mecca Egbuka from Ohio State. Obviously, C.J. Stroud knows him. So I try to go there. And then I pay attention to some of these veterans. And again, I know I just downplayed a veteran in Diggs, but he's not healthy. I'd pay attention to some of these veterans that maybe, get shown the door or on their way out at some of their other locations. For instance, I don't know, you hire one of the guys from the Rams and Cooper Kupp's on his way out. Hello, there's a nice little fit there for you.
You read my mind.
I'd keep an eye on Seattle just in case Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf are unhappy with their situation. DK is a little bit more expensive, would cost you draft picks. Lockett maybe gets cut, and then he could be, a priority free agent for you. But add as many bodies, as many different types and styles of guys as you can. Try to get you a pass-catching tight end as well, and a veteran right guard. Somebody who's played less football than Shaq Mason when he got here, but more football than a rookie. That'd be my wish list, or my early wish list for this Texans offense in the offseason player movement.
It is a team that is up against the cap, though, coming into next year. Doesn't have quite the flexibility it had last year going into it. Are there some moves they can do to create some more space? Because I look at it, you're paying Laramie Tunsil a lot of money. You just extended both Shaq Mason and Titus Howard going in. You invested a lot of money into an offensive line that it feels like you want to blow up.
Yeah, it's a rough cap situation. You can create some money, changing some things around, kicking the can down the road, and that's probably what you should do. Kick the can down the road a little bit. This new void years thing that GMs have started doing allows you to kind of move money into the future and things like that. You should do that and create some money, transform some current contracts so it creates some space. It's not going to be a spending spree like last year, but you're going to have to get some really good value out of the free agent money. And of course, you got to keep the money fresh for that rookie class when you end up in the draft. So be interested to see kind of how free agency goes and how that sort of tips their hand towards what they may operate and do in the draft. But yeah, you can create a little bit of cash, but it ain't going to be, Moneybags Nick Caserio like it was last year.
He is Cody Stutes of Houston Football and the SNL podcast on the podcast page. Go to YouTube, check it out. Cody, thanks for your time this afternoon. I appreciate all the information and keeping us up to date on what's going on down there in Houston.
I'm overdue for a visit to San Antonio. We got to get together, a bunch of the Texans fans in San Antonio, drink some beers, talk some ball.
Sounds good to me. You let me know when and where, and we'll put it out there for everybody.
Sounds good. Talk soon.
Take it easy. That is Cody Stutes of Houston Football. Follow him on Twitter at Cody_Stutes. That's STOOTS. And of course, follow his work. www.houfootball.com, and be sure to check him and Landry Locker on the SNL on YouTube. He is fantastic. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Spurs, while they're doing things over in Paris, the trade deadline is fast approaching. What could San Antonio be up to as we get close? We'll discuss that more coming up next right here on Extra Innings with Pleasure on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
94.1 FM.
You know the Roo Pub has proven to be the best place to watch any big game with those 3 massive 170-inch screens and TVs all around. Football, basketball, all the fights. And when you show up at the Roo Pub, show up hungry. The food is fantastic. Open daily at 11. Great for lunch, great for dinner, great for late at night, and certainly the best place to watch the game. Just down from the big blind, the Roo Pub, right next to the Angry Elephant. 281 in Redland Road. We'll see you at the Roo.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference challenge for you.
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. At work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text PREP to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text PREP to 42424. That's PREP to 42424.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-6161. That's 800-838-6161. 800-838-6161.
If you love designer brands and you love clearance, then you're going to love this. Macy's is having a huge designer clearance event right now with incredible new designer markdowns on cold weather styles from BCBG, Hugo Boss, Michael Kors, and more. How big are the markdowns? How about Coach boots for $200 or less? So if you're looking for the things you love all in one place, come in and shop the designer clearance event at Macy's today. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
Has a loved one died and left you an old car to sell? GiveMeTheVin.com has just launched the new service GMTVCC.com. Write this down, GMTVCC.com, which is Give Me the VIN classic and collector car buying service. GMTVCC.com will hook you up with GMTVCC Pro buyers that will appraise and offer on that 69 Chevelle, old Corvette, old truck, and especially Restomods. We love Restomods at GMTVCC.com. Don't mess with consignments or auctions. Get paid today on your classic or collector car at GMTVCC.com.
Guys, if you're not feeling like yourself, testosterone therapy may be the answer. Look for the VIP treatment you'll get with the experts at Synergenics Testosterone Weight Loss. Synergenics has over a decade of TRT experience. Book your appointment at synergenicshealth.com.
AJ Hoffman here from the Morning Huddle for my friends out at SA Card House, San Antonio's premier card house, located at 281 and Bitters. They have tournaments going every single day, guys. Follow them on Instagram. It's at SA_Card House. You'll get all the details on what tournaments are running that day. And if you're not a tournament guy, hey, no problem. They've got cash games running 24/7. It's a great environment, great atmosphere, great dealers, great people. I can't forget the great food. Foster's Bar and Grill, attached to SA Card House, has some of the finest food in the city, and you don't have to be a member to dine there. If you're looking for a place to play cards, look no further. It's 281 and Bitters. SA Card House is the place you want to play. Always cash to be made. Get on out to SA Card House. I will see you on the tables.
Paramount Plus is your streaming home for the NFL playoffs on CBS. It all comes down to this. As the Chiefs host the Bills in the AFC Championship presented by Intuit TurboTax. A trip to New Orleans is on the line Sunday at 6:30 Eastern, streaming live on Paramount Plus.
Listen to 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star on your Amazon or Google smart speaker and just say, Alexa, play 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Welcome back into Extra Innings with Pleasure right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. Josh Jimenez says, dang, Stutzy, so informative. Gotta love it. Very true. Stutzy is as plugged in as it gets down there in Houston, has great knowledge, the Zach Cromer thing, and then you talk about Nick Caley, who I forgot they actually did interview when they hired D'Amico last year for their offensive coordinator vacancy and tight ends coach. But he was coming out of New England, and I was uncertain about him if he was just going to be kind of a Caserio plant because we were still in that world. So lots of good things coming out of Sean McVay's coaching tree. Nick Caley could be one of the newest, brightest things along with Zach Cromer. And like you said, package deal, you bring both of those in, you got a offensive system and philosophy that both of them know. It's going to be a lot easier to teach. And then who knows, maybe you go 3 for 1. And if they're truly looking to potentially move on from Cooper Kupp, well, you're in need of a receiver, and he's a pretty good one and would provide a nice compliment to Nico Collins there for CJ Stroud. Just saying. Then maybe you draft somebody, like you said, Emeka Ogba, whether it's Matthew Golden, whoever it may be, later in the draft. But I definitely could see this shaking out. So as this plays out, we'll have the latest for you here on Extra Innings with pleasure. Appreciate all of it. Chris Orozco says Kupp would be a nice weapon for CJ Stroud. I get it. I'm down. I'm in. Sign me up. That's what I want. You know what else I want? I want to see the Spurs continue to be as competitive as they were yesterday when they beat the snot out of the Pacers. And I want to see them do it again tomorrow at 11 o'clock in the morning and continue this and bring it home so that we don't have to talk about big trades so much anymore. Maybe this team can grow together the way the Rockets and the Thunder have. And maybe everything starts to click for them as they spend more time together, because a lot of Rockets fans last year, after they didn't take that step they expected, kind of were ready to punt all the young guys to go get superstars. Now they're second in the West because they kept the core together. Can the Spurs continue to do this, or do they need to make a move of some kind? Maybe not a big move, maybe a smaller move, maybe just finding some shooting to space the floor. Well, the Morning Huddle was talking about it earlier this morning. You can catch Rob and AJ every weekday morning from 6 to 10 as the Spurs, well, trade deadline's right around the corner, February 6th.
About like the ideal player to add for the Spurs, and I don't know if the Spurs can think about adding now, but apparently the Nets are very open to trading Cam Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
And man, that guy, you talk about a guy who would fit here, a 42% three-point shooter right now. Oh,
he sounds
give me
good.
That.
He sounds good.
Give me that.
How many teams has he been on now? He was moved from Phoenix, right, in a trade. That's how he got up there. Right?
Cam has been on the Suns, and I think that's it. I think the Suns and the Nets. Yeah, I think he got drafted, but I think he got drafted and immediately traded. Yeah. So, but I don't think he played for anybody else. I think it's just Suns and Nets. But I like Cam Johnson. He's good body, 6'8", 6'9".
He's
type,
of the type we don't
shoot.
have. We don't have anything like them.
Yeah.
Well, Mamu's close, but Mamu plays a little bit.
Well, Mamu ain't shooting 42% from
plays
three.
A little bit different.
So give me that. Give me that.
Well, send Mamu to Seton Hall. I mean, he went to Seton Hall. Send him back to.
Yeah, give Mamu to the Nets. Go
send him
for
back
it.
home.
Have him. Have whatever you want. Save like two guys. Something. The other team that's going to be talked about, because they always are at the trade deadline, is the Lakers. The Lakers are not a deep team. The Lakers, the question is, how do they find a way to add talent? And it's tough.
I don't know how active they could be. We're going to talk about them, but they've made their move. I do think that they're redundant in the Austin Reeves Dalton Connect department. So if they might move that, but they need that shooting. It's just that those two guys really can't be on the court at the same time because there's such liabilities defensively. That would be the only peripheral move I see them making. They're just waiting for LeBron to leave.
What do the Denver Nuggets do?
Get healthy and they've got the pieces in the building.
Are the Nuggets good enough to win a title like this, you think?
Joker can alone carry them. They've got the pieces in the building. It's just they've got to get Jamal Murray playing on a regular basis. They've got to make sure that Aaron is healthy. They've got all the dudes that are capable of going and winning a title. They just got to put them all on the court at the same time. They had a huge win a couple of nights ago, but we've also seen them get waxed by like the Spurs on the road. Right. So I think for them, it's more a matter of health. They're playing the chess game of, can we continue to win just enough to get enough home court to wait to get our guys fully functioning at the same time? And if they can do that, they should be at least a one playoff round winner, depending on where they end up with. I'm still afraid to play them.
Claymore says Bradley Beal wants to maintain his no trade clause even after he goes to a new team, per Brian Windhorst.
Well, to a new team. He's not going to give up the no trade clause. I wouldn't give it up, but I would agree.
Yeah. That's the NBA needs to make sure the NBA needs to not do no trade clauses. If they've got any brains in their heads, they're going to nip this thing in the bud quick.
Yeah, everybody who ever gets one, they end up biting in the ass. But
It really
sometimes
does seem that way.
That initial team saves a little bit of money. If a guy goes, I'll take less if you'll give me a no trade clause. Well, at that point, they're newlyweds. They love each other. That's an easy yes.
True. It's like, but yeah, it's like, I mean, telling a guy you're not getting him a no trade clause is like asking a girlfriend for a prenup. It's not comfortable, but it's like, hey, you never know where this thing's going to be in 5 years. I don't know. I think it's fiscally responsible to say, no, we're not doing that.
But it's a last gasp, not a last gasp. It's the first card you throw out as the agent. Like, hey, we'll drop the request by $10 million, but we want a no trade clause. And it's easy if you're looking at the bottom of your bank account to say yes, because then what could go wrong?
Now, are there any players on the Spurs who you could see being moved?
Well, Zach Collins has now become a non-entity. Not like anybody is chasing Zach Collins, but Zach Collins now becomes. Well, when you look at what's going to happen with Phoenix and the dollar values, they're going to have to be crammed into trade spaces to make all the money match. Then Zach Collins can become a player because he can be thrown into a package that might not have anything to do with any other Spur but him. But we can throw him in and move that around. So I do think as we see this big move coming from Phoenix that might involve 3-4 teams just to make things work, then you can see edge players move from San Antonio because we can jump in on that freight train. And it might not bring anything in immediately, but there could be some picks to move. But I do think as we have seen Zach Collins disappear, move down the bench, that, he's an old pro and he does have a place in this league. So I do think he's open there. Malachi Brenham and Blake Wesley and all those dudes. Yeah, I'm sure there's a for sale sign hanging around there out right now, flapping in the wind, but I don't nobody calling about them. They're pieces and parts. I right now, I don't see anything happening.
The thing I saw the other day was we talked about the Bulls, like the Bulls trying to move on from a bunch of people. I saw the idea that maybe the Spurs could buy low on Lonzo Ball. I'd be interested in that. I know the health is a concern. Obviously, dude's had like 50 surgeries, but he's been getting his body right. And like for the long haul, maybe a guy like that could help you.
Oh, he would be. Can you imagine him and Wemby? I mean,
that's what I'm thinking.
The guy could drop dimes. There's a lot that goes on there, and I don't pretend to know what he's like. I just know that the legend of the Ball brothers will float with him no matter where he goes, and no matter who goes and chases him, especially a team like San Antonio would have to be very comfortable with the off the court stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying anything he's done is wrong. I'm just saying that the Spurs would have to be very comfortable that everything that goes alongside, because we're not a social media type team. He's not going to flourish with his Insta here. It's not, that's part of his legend. That's part of who he is. So on the court, yeah, I'd buy low on him. And the Spurs have done things like this in the past, so it wouldn't be outlandish. But I just don't get the sense that as long as Pop is not sitting on the bench and there's a transition coming, that they're not all that eager to make moves.
I saw another page that it had 3.
You can catch all the Morning Huddle in the audio vault powered by AA Best Bail Bonds at sasportstar.com as they bring you the latest. But man, it would be nice to have someone that can space the floor consistently for Wemby, or, somebody develop into that like Champagnie. I don't know if it comes down to rotations or what with the Spurs right now, but I really want to see this team grow together and continue to build off of what they did yesterday afternoon and grow the way that Oklahoma City and Houston have grown. This is Extra Innings with Pledger. I am James Pledger right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. When we come back, take a look at the Cowboys, what they may end up doing, or is it all just a farce to keep them buzzing in the headline cycle? We'll put a bow on the show, get you ready for the weekend as we discuss whether we'll have a new Cowboys head coach come Monday or not. It's Extra Innings with Pledger on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Hey, it's Rob Thompson for Prize Picks, the best place to get real money on your sports action. Me and 10 million other people are playing every day, and now's the time to do it. Have you ever heard of this? You've got a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. You can run your season all game long, and now 1,000 times your cash. Heck, I've been a Prize Picks player for a long time. I've not seen this. 1,000 times your cash. It's playoff time. It's now or never. Don't miss out on the fun in the last few weeks of the football season. Prize Picks is the best place to play, up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get the action on the sports that you're playing, and now you can get up to 1,000 times your cash. Join over 10 million members. Play today. And if you sign up today, you get up to $50 instantly when you play. Use the code ALAMO. Sign up today for 1,000 times your cash. Prize Picks. Run your game.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-505-9603, 800-505-9603, 800-505-9603.
Joe Montana here. In my football days, I knew the importance of a strong defense. Now I'm sharing how you can help defend your health against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease. Are you 50 or older like me? The CDC now recommends vaccination against pneumococcal disease. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at increased risk and over 6 times greater risk of hospitalization with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50. Schedule your appointment today at vaxassist.com.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this: if something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month, with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
Welcome back into Extra Innings with Pleasure right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. Appreciate all y'all for rolling through with me tonight and all week long. We'll be back at it on Monday. But Monday, will the Dallas Cowboys be having a new coach? Will the Houston Texans have a new offensive coordinator? Those are questions that only time will answer. And to me, the momentum that has been building behind this Brian Schottenheimer thing just doesn't make sense. Unless literally it is about putting Jason Witten on that staff in a place for him to eventually take over after learning. But why would you want him to learn under a coach that's never been a head coach? Wouldn't you want him to learn under a coach that has experience so they can learn from those experiences that he's gone through instead of two guys learning together through these experiences? If you want to hire Jason Witten, just go on and hire Jason Witten and make him the head coach. He's not an offensive guy. He's not a defensive guy. He can literally just be a motivational guy, a guy that installs game plans, and the guy that manages the clock and game situations and timeouts and manages a football game. And surround him with former head coaches that at offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams coordinator, running backs coach that have been bring a wealth of knowledge to surround him with as you build your staff around him and put him in a position to succeed. But definitely, if your move is, I eventually want Jason Witten, rip the Band-Aid off and just make Jason Witten your head coach, because the Brian Schottenheimer thing feels like the exact wrong way to go about this. Will we have one by Monday? It's going to be very interesting to find out. I appreciate all of y'all for riding along with me tonight and all week long. We'll be back on Monday, same bat time, same bat channel, 6 o'clock. Don't forget, it gets going Monday morning with the Morning Huddle with Rob Thompson and AJ Hoffman from 6 to 10. And of course, Jason and Joe and the Blitz get you all the way from 2 to 6. And if you missed anything, hit the rewind here on YouTube. Great interview with Cody Stutes. If you have questions on where they may be going with their offensive line coach, with their offensive coordinator, and what they may be doing in free agency and the draft and what they're targeting, Cody Stutes was a great listen. Go give it a listen back. This has been Extra Innings with Pleasure right here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. We'll see you Monday.
Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.
Well, family, this new year is off to a great start. Everybody, how are those New Year's resolutions?
Dear, my resolution is to cut my damaged hair and just start over.
Dad, my resolution is to take better care of my